My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the most well-known and frequently misquoted movie lines.
Fly, you fools!
Number 10. You're gonna need a bigger boat. Jaws. This iconic ad-lib by Roy Scheider lets everyone know that the danger in the water is no joke, and that not just any boat is equipped for it.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
The line became a catchphrase among the crew when they encountered obstacles during production, and after making the final cut of the film, it has become a mainstay pop culture reference. There's a subtle difference though. People often misquote it as "we're gonna need a bigger boat."
Salsa shark. We're gonna need a bigger boat.
This makes sense, as it implies that the speaker is also involved in whatever problem is at play. However, in the movie, Scheider's character Brody actually says, "You're gonna need a bigger boat."
We're gonna need a bigger boat.
Number 9. Fasten your seatbelts. It's gonna be a bumpy night. All about Eve. When someone foresees a difficult time ahead, you could say that they should fasten their seatbelt because it's gonna be a bumpy ride.
All right, fasten your seatbelts. It's gonna be a bumpy ride.
What a lot of people may not realize is that a variation of this familiar idiomatic expression appears in the 1950 classic film All About Eve. Margot Channing, played by legendary actress Bette Davis, doesn't actually say the word ride though. She says night, as in fasten your seatbelts, it's gonna be a bumpy night.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Yet if you say the movie quote verbatim, someone might give you a puzzled look.
It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Number 8. Mrs. Robinson, you're trying to seduce me, aren't you? The Graduate. When he feels like Mrs. Robinson might be coming onto him, Benjamin Braddock utters a quote from The Graduate that lives on. Many people remember it and refer to it as "Mrs. Robinson, are you trying to seduce me?" But that's not the exact quote from the film.
Mr. Finch, are you trying to seduce me?
Benjamin actually utters a statement, followed by a pause, and finally a request for clarification.
Mrs. Robinson, you're trying to seduce me. Aren't you?
In other words, Benjamin tells Mrs. Robinson that she is trying to seduce him, before taking a few breaths and ultimately asking her to clarify whether his suspicion is correct.
Mrs. Robinson, you're trying to seduce me.
Number 7. Good evening, Clarice. The Silence of the Lambs. There are multiple chilling lines and moments featuring Hannibal Lecter in The Silence of the Lambs. It's no wonder the American Film Institute ranked him as the #1 film villain of all time.
A census taker once tried to test me. I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Contrary to popular belief, however, Lecter never says, "Hello, Clarice." The closest he ever comes to such a line is when he says, "Good evening, Clarice."
Good evening, Clarice.
Perhaps the character's dark and twisted nature, combined with his memorable interactions with Clarice and his distinctive, unsettling tone, led people to falsely remember him greeting her with a creepy hello.
Silence of the Lambs. Hello, Clarice.
Number 6. Play it, Sam. Casablanca. Just because Sam has played it before doesn't mean that Ilsa or Rick says "play it again, Sam," which is what many people misremember from the all-time classic Casablanca. Ingrid Bergman's character actually says, "Play it once, Sam, for old time's sake."
Play it once, Sam. For all time's sake.
And after Sam's reply, she says, "Play it, Sam. Play as time goes by."
Play it, Sam. Play as time goes by.
Based on the musician's reaction, he had played that tune before. In a later scene, Humphrey Bogart's Rick insists that Sam play it again. But like Ilsa, Rick doesn't actually use the word again.
Play it. Yes, boss.
Even so, as time goes by, the common misquote persists. Woody Allen's 1969 play and 1972 film titled "Play It Again, Sam" may have something to do with that.
What to say?
Number 5. If you build it, he will come. Field of Dreams. As Kevin Costner's Ray Kinsella walks through his family cornfield, a mysterious voice repeats a memorable phrase. Yet, despite the repetition, many viewers misquote this iconic line from the sports fantasy drama Field of Dreams. Rather than "if you build it, they will come," the actual line is "he will come." Ray does end up taking the voice's advice by building a baseball field within the cornfield, and as a result, ghosts of baseball legends appear. So yes, they do come, but there's one man in particular that the voice must have been talking about.
If you build it, He will come.
Number 4. Do I feel lucky? Well, do ya, punk? Dirty Harry.
Do I feel lucky? Well, do ya, punks?
The length and complexity of this memorable line may have something to do with it being so widely misquoted. But of course, it's the sheer awesomeness of it that makes people remember it from Dirty Harry, albeit incorrectly. The title character, played by Clint Eastwood, tells a robber, "You've got to ask yourself one question." Since this sets up Harry to word the question from the robber's perspective, he asks, "Do I feel lucky?" before saying, "Well, do ya, punk?"
Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
The simplified, punchy misquote that you're much more likely to hear is, "Do you feel lucky, punk?"
Well, do you, punk?
Number 3. I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore. The Wizard of Oz. This iconic quote from an all-time classic film remains a staple in pop culture and everyday conversation. While it's often paraphrased as, "I don't think we're in Kansas anymore," or simply, "We're not in Kansas anymore," Dorothy's actual words to Toto are slightly different.
Toto? I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
Of course, Dorothy's feeling, as she says, turns out to be spot on. They definitely aren't in Kansas anymore. We have a feeling that even people who have never seen The Wizard of Oz may have used this phrase in some way before.
You are not in Kansas anymore. You are on Pandora.
And it's definitely a fun one to pull out in the appropriate situation.
We're not in Kansas anymore.
Really?
Number 2. Magic mirror on the wall. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest one of all? We attribute this timeless saying to Disney's first feature-length animated film, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. But the Wicked Queen doesn't actually say mirror, mirror. She says magic mirror.
Magic mirror on the wall. Who is the fairest one of all?
With that said, mirror, mirror is the phrase used in the original 1812 Brothers Grimm fairy tale, on which the film was based. Disney changed the line for their adaptation.
Magic mirror on the wall. Who now is the fairest one of all?
Still, we bet that a lot of people who didn't read the original tale but saw the 1937 film misremember the Queen saying mirror, mirror. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. No, I am your father. Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. Wait a sec. Surely it's Luke, I am your father, right? Well, not quite actually. The plot twist in The Empire Strikes Back, in which Darth Vader drops that bombshell on Luke, doesn't go down exactly as most people remember.
Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father.
He told me enough.
Just as the reveal itself comes as a shock, finding out that this is a misquote may come as a shock as well. And understandably so. In the movie, James Earl Jones's Vader actually responds to Mark Hamill's character by saying, "No, I am your father."
No, I am your father.
Why did we think he says Luke? Who knows? The Mandela effect really is something.
It's not true. That's impossible.
Is there a certain movie reference that you often make? Let us know in the comments.
You're gonna need a bigger boat, right?
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.